Welcome to Blue Monday. It's me and Dave tonight on Easter Bank Holiday Monday and a 4-day weekend that Everton have tried the best to absolutely ruin on and off the pitch. So we're just going to take a little dive into that. Nothing too heavy because I think the accounts are a little bit above our pay grade, aren't they, Dave?
Well, I don't think we're getting paid, mate. But that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Feels like we should be getting paid something, shouldn't it? As we're supporting Everton. But you mentioned 4 days, it's going to be 5 days, isn't it? When we go to Newcastle tomorrow as well.
Well,
So,
yeah.
and then
Well,
we got like that home game on Saturday is probably much bigger than tomorrow. If we get something tomorrow, it's a bonus, isn't it? But you're right. It's Everton have done their best to destroy Easter 4-dayer. We've already done one of them by getting beat 2-1 in the most Everton way possible. So yeah, I mean, it feels on a bit of a down. I normally love Easter. The bank holiday Easter is normally great because you can. We always do. We have the fish and chips on a Friday. I'm not overly religious, like, but it's just a tradition in our family. Do you know what I mean? Are you similar with that? Because I remember you
yeah,
were saying you.
yeah, we do the same. I'm not like religious at all, but it's always been like, just don't eat meat on Good Friday. It's like, if you can do it one day a year, you might as well.
That's it.
But
I mean, yeah.
fish dinner's now at a tenner in
Do
the
you know
chippy
what?
by ours.
Same thing there. So I'm trying to stay off chips, and I try and take as much of the batter. If you go to like not George Jerry's, but if you go to a poor chippy or like an average chippy, they just whack it with batter.
Yeah.
Looks like a huge fish, but it's like just the cod inside of it's about half the size. You know what I mean? So I've started when we finding a decent chippy down by ours isn't great. And there's one round the corner there, and I said, I don't want any chips, just get me two large fish. And like Haley brings in all that, and I was like, oh, they look all right. But then the ends of it are just caked in batter. So, you know, when you chop the ends off of it,
Yeah.
it's got no fish in
Well,
whatsoever. I'm sat
tip,
there like,
tip
could
for
do
that.
3 or 4 of them, it still wouldn't be fulfilled. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's a little tip for you when you go to Chippy. Didn't expect to be kicking off with this, but it's nice to not talk about Everton. Yeah,
The
if you
mailbag start this, isn't it?
if you get it, yeah, if you go and ask for a lightly battered fish, and they do it there and then.
What?
Just ask for it lightly battered. Honestly, you
That
feel a bit of a get doing it, but they'll make it there and then, and it won't be like dead heavy on the batter.
that's got to be an
Trust
oblong
me,
side, that, mate.
trust me.
That's got to be your side of the river. That
I've never done it in Liverpool, but yeah, I've done it over here loads. So,
I've never heard of that, let alone
well,
done it.
trust me,
That's
give it
what
a
I'm
go.
mate. I'm going to my mother-in-law's tonight, and she's like, "What should we get? Chippy tea?" So I was going to get Chinese. I'm like, "No, I want a fish that's been lightly battered." See what they say.
I'm telling you, you won't
Probably
regret it.
happy. Do you know why? It's probably happy because they can get to keep more batters. You know what I mean? Keep the sales down and all
Yeah,
that.
there you go.
The sales up, yeah.
Anyway, should we dig into this game on Saturday?
That's,
Um, it's like I just taking us back to mailbag on Friday night. We were sort of talking. We were talking about dice. It was one of the questions, wasn't it? Do we just like shake hands and go our separate ways?
yeah.
And I think we were all a little bit sort of on the fence with it, weren't we? It was like, you can see the job he did last season to keep us up. This season,
Mm,
sort of the wheels have fallen off a bit, but I think that on Saturday was probably about as bad as it's been because, I mean, Bournemouth have got a pretty bad home record. I think they've scored the fewest goals in the league at home, and they didn't look interested for me.
no.
They didn't look like they had any sort of threat in that game at all. Yet we gifted them like literally 2 goals, and it just felt like if you looked at like the heat map after the game, there's just no wing play. Although we've got width in Harrison and McNeil, I think we've spoken about this before. They took in loads, and the
Mm,
ball isn't going down the wings. It's like how what that's got to come from the manager. That has got to be a tactical thing. And now you're looking at him thinking, this is pretty desperate, isn't it? It's like I'm not someone who gets hung up on sort of formations and tactics and that, because I think, if you're getting results, just do what you can. But then when you're not getting the results and you look into things like that, it's just mind blowing to see a team setting up the way they do.
mm. Do you know what? I think it's interesting. We don't normally thank ourselves for sort of the content we put out there. It's not people if they like what they're listening to when we do our stuff, but I have to openly praise ourselves here because it's been an underlying condition we've spoken about for certainly a good few weeks now, if not months, about about Dyche, which is, it's been an undercurrent to everything that's been going on. How much you sort of throw towards him versus how much you throw towards the team, and well, latterly the fans as well. And we've had that debate quite a lot. And it's sort of quite funny, really, because I've mentioned this a lot to people who've tweeted us and got in touch with us talking about the Dice issue, saying, oh, you can't really blame him. But it felt to me it's been like a little bit of a ticking bomb, Les, over the certain recent games, because the thing that I initially kicked off a long time ago with him is the substitutions, doesn't make them till 70
Yeah,
odd. The reaction to that was we haven't got any decent subs and all that. Then it got to a stage where, it's like, well, you've got to change something. You have to change something. On Matt's show, with Matt on Blue Monday last week, that was very much what I was saying a lot to him. You can't just persist with what you've got and not make a change, regardless of what you think of what's on the bench there. You've still got to do it. You can't just stick doing this when it's doing absolutely nothing.
yeah,
And I think for a lot of people seeing reaction on the game on Saturday, I think a lot of people that was the final straw for many. And I feel that everybody's tried to be different this time, given how like knee jerk we've been with our previous managers. Get rid now, get rid now, get rid now. But now I feel as if the patience has gone as far as it's going to go with them.
mm,
And what you've mentioned there about it ties in. I think what we saw at Bournemouth, as in we created their chances for them. Like you said, they look like they couldn't. They look like us basically couldn't score
yeah.
in the Sundays, but yet we allowed them to do that. You think about that cross that came in for Solanke. I've no idea how that goes over Tarkovsky's head. Just a bog standard cross.
It was a half-hearted jump, wasn't it? It wasn't like there was no conviction in trying to get that ball clear, which is weird. It's like,
Yeah,
what was
it
the
is.
point?
What got me about it, Les, is that like this lad's he's a qualified centre back. People say he's top class. That's an argument for a different day. But he's a Premier League centre back who appeared to me when that came in. It's like he looks like it going over the top of his head, as if he's thought someone shouted behind him saying he's going to clear it, and obviously he didn't.
Yeah,
There was no one close to Solanke, who was standing in the middle of our two centre backs in the end, and scores a header, just nods it past Pickford. And the second one, I mean, I have no idea what's going on there, and I think that what saved Coleman's blushes is that it's Seamus Coleman, because anybody else would be getting ripped to shreds. And I know he's received a level of criticism. Anyone else in that 11, though, would have been getting, people would be outside Finch Farm when they go to training.
well, yes, for me, it was just really basic bad fullback defending. So as a fullback, you always got to look up over your shoulder to see who's there. Had he done that, he would have known he could just let that go and turn and then try and clear it. But he hadn't looked to see who was there. So he panicked thinking there could be someone there.
Well, the most basic there, Les, is just see it out for the corner. Just
Yeah,
knock it for the corner. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just flick it out for the corner. And what the defence of him was he's done that, thinking Pickford's just going to come and pick it up. What gets me about it is that's coming where his front vision there has got Pickford to his left hand side.
yeah,
That's the box there. You must surely see Pickford is on the other side of the
yeah,
post,
exactly.
the side of the goal, and you're chesting it down. If he even did that, Pickford would have to make the save of the season to even keep it out of goal. So I have no idea where that came up. But going back to what you said there, that game, and we've said it many times, that game was there for the taking.
Yeah,
And I don't think we had to play particularly well to do that. I felt that we looked competent for most of it without, I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'm trying not to have an knee-jerk reaction with this now, but I don't see where he's staying. Well, he's going to stay with us, I think, because I don't think anybody would take him these days unless a championship side. I just don't see it happening for him again, unless every single time I see him, I'm thinking he's getting into a decent position here. The first chance he has where he puts himself in a really good position just outside their 6 yard box, and I'm thinking just
yeah.
blast it in. And he does this little weak thing with his right foot that he just like scuffs a little bit, makes it an
It's,
easy
it's,
save.
it's what a player does when they've got no confidence, isn't it?
It is. It is.
They're in so many minds about what they're gonna do instead of just being instinctive. They
Yeah.
overthink it, and that's definitely what happened there.
It's it's probably one of the very few facets of the sympathy that I do have with Dyche, because you can't reteach what has already been taught to someone like Calvert-Lewin. I don't think he's the type of player you should throw into training, which incidentally Dyche said we do nothing in, by the way.
It's
He's not
incredible, isn't it?
exactly, what is he now? Mid-20s. You can't teach him to do what he's been doing. And look, by and large, up until the last 2 or 3 years, with injuries thrown in, he's been really good for us doing that. But you get to a certain point where you're like, this just not working out, mate. And that's being kind to him. I think he's been really poor. I don't see where he gets it back, Les, after we've been saying, oh, he's been injured for a long time.
Yeah.
He's not still injured
Well,
now.
he's had a good run on the side now, hasn't he?
Fit as a fiddle, and it's still not coming about for him. Other people will say, well, he's not getting given chances, but he actually is. He's getting opportunities to score goals,
Yeah.
relatively comfortable opportunities. And I've been in that type of scenario where you think it's sort of stereotype. You think he scores there, then he'll go on this run of scoring like 6 in 10. That doesn't look like it's going to happen either. And then get better on, and we scored the equaliser, which he was actually really good when he came on for that. Like, he gets his head up, does what you'd expect him to do for being 9 foot tall or
Just
whatever.
make a nuisance, yeah.
Exactly that. That's all he can do, is just make a fuss. He did that, made their keeper fuck up, scored the equaliser, and I'm thinking, you can go and get this. It's probably, and this sounds really, really naive, and people will slate me for this as well. I actually thought, we'll go and win this. We'll win this game now.
Do you know what the annoying thing about that was? I thought, yeah, we've got momentum here, but from the kickoff, we're on the back foot. So how many times you see it like at Goodison, like against like West Ham, where they got like the late goal and then they got another one. You're under, as soon as a team scores late against you, they put you under the cosh and they're throwing everything at you. We didn't. We sat back and like just invited the pressure on, which led to the goal. And you never see that from a team that scores a late equaliser. They
Who do you
then,
throw, no less? Who do you throw that at to do that? Is it just simply because we've had the lack of being in front in a game and needing to see one out,
yeah,
or just that's what your manager should be saying? Because I think, my opinion, I think from like the outside of that, I'm thinking someone like Sean Dyche is saying, we scored a goal, you go 1-0 up, everyone go and sit on our own goal. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? That's not how you win in a Premier League game these days. 9 times out of 10, is it?
no, yeah, a lot of this now is landing on the manager for me. Obviously, a lot of the players clearly aren't good enough at all. And, we've sort of been which is what we'll come on to in a minute. The squad's been getting sort of shorn of quality for the last few years, hasn't it? Any decent players we've had are getting sold for big money, well, relatively big money, and yeah, and the quality's just getting stripped from the squad, and has been for a number of years, and that is now playing out in the performances we're getting out of them. But I think you've got to look at the manager now, as you say. It's his imprint on the team now, isn't it? The team is playing how he wants them to play, and as you say, they are creating chances and they're not converting them. But even so, he's playing how they want him to, and it isn't working, and he's not changing it. And we saw the same thing with Roberto Martinez when he came in. First season was great, but as soon as he sort of got his imprint on that team, and then he stopped doing the basic stuff like defending and fitness training, that's when it all fell apart, because he got like, that's how he ran the team. I feel like that's the case with Dyche now, that he's been running the team as he sees fit. They're playing the way he wants them to, and it just isn't good enough.
No, it's not. You're right, and again, you're like the mitigating circumstances. You can make an endless list of that, but that doesn't excuse him for so many of the other things, which is really easy to do. I don't like. I've wrecked my head sort of trying to put this into some sort of perspective, but it's not like you can't be in one direction or the other. They're both an issue in this, and I completely accept that. I understand that if you spoke to Sean Dyche honestly away from the camera, and he'd say, fucking tough job this, lads. I've got this here, I've got this here, I've got a bench there through players that I didn't even sign myself. Got a Frankenstein of a squad, blah blah blah, all this stuff that our previous managers in the last decade have been able to say. That doesn't last so long. That can't wash with me for too long personally. Because the first question I think many people who aren't Evertonians, many football fans who aren't Everton fans would say, who else are you going to go with? That's the immediate question anybody asks you if you say you don't want to
Yeah.
manage it. Who are you going to go and get? I actually don't put that as the first question. The first question should be, or what I'd make about another side would be, why do you want to let him go? And you have to sort of look at that in an individual basis and think, well, we need to let go of him because he doesn't look like Everton getting any better. He actually looks like Everton getting worse.
Yeah.
We haven't won a game. This is the 12th time I've seen that stat with work with the BBC. 12 games, 5 draws, and I think it's 5 draws, 7 defeats. Since the 16th of December. I mean, I'm 36 now. I was 35 the last time we won a game. That was before Christmas. That was before this year. That was before Easter.
I saw someone put the last time Everton won, no one had heard of Luke Littler. It's like it's mad.
So yeah, he was probably strolling around Warrington being a little shit, doing all sorts of different stuff, all over the place and everything. Like, yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, where are we now? Approaching 6 months, is it?
Yeah,
We're now like 4 or 5 months.
4, 5 months.
Yeah, not to get away, mate. I mean, it's astonishing. It is astonishing that we're still clear. We're still 3 points above the relegation zone. It's quite
Yeah.
incredible when you think about that, Les. But going back to what I was saying about him there, I think it's really easy for people who are saying, well, you don't. Who else do you get? And the other question we were referring to, I think, in the last couple of weeks was if he stays up, do you still keep giving him a chance? Is he the man that then takes us to the new stadium? I think it's painful if Sean Dyche is still Everton's manager come August, regardless of where we finish here.
Yeah.
Even if we were to go down, I'd still look at getting somebody else now. I'm just fed up. And the things that he's going down the road now, the age-old road of I'm going to say some stuff on the club's media which make me look like a fucking idiot. And him saying, what was it he said about we scoring great goals recently or something like that?
Yeah, it was something. Yeah.
And that's off a base. I put it on my Twitter. I was like, he's
Yeah.
got to be taking the piss. Is it April Fool's Day that he's taking the piss there? Scoring any goals have been tough enough, haven't he? And then I think I've seen his one today saying, well, we've got to go on, we've got to knock something together as well. We've got to knock it back like we've always done this season. I get into something in my mind which is just like completely different to what he says, but it means the same thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's coming in through the club itself, and that just feels like you're going down that slope of where it ends up with him not being the Everton manager anymore. And if you were asked about best case scenarios here, obviously Everton stay up. And you say goodbye to him. Then I think, and then everything else comes with it. Comes back in. People are saying, "Who'd you go and get?" The squad shite. We've got to do all sorts over the summer. And then I think, a bit of a segue into what we're going to talk about in a minute in general, sort of the financial things that have come out in the accounts. But I mean, I know I'm banging on about this, but going back to the question we've been answering, would you bin him? I'll
Yeah.
ask.
I think,
Today sort of tipped you over the line, I suppose, is probably a fairer way to say.
I think Saturday definitely tipped me over the edge. It was like that was an unforgivable performance that from the team. And yeah, I think, and you look at the record, he's on course now to be statistically the worst manager we've had in the Premier League. And having gone through Mike Walker as like a 17-year-old or whatever it was bad. It was really bad, and it was always the yardstick for how bad Everton can be.
Yeah.
And it's not now. It's not going to be unless we get something at Newcastle, even as like decimated as they are with injuries and suspensions. Still can't see us getting anything up there. If we do, brilliant, love it, but it won't really change anything. It's not good enough at all. But as you say, it's not just a case of who we get. If we get someone else in, I mean, first off, who sacks him anyway? Who's actually running stuff?
I suppose the other thing to throw is the second part of that, though, is can you still do it with 8 games left?
Yeah. Well, Burnley did it, didn't they, with about 4 left in it?
Yeah, to
Knackered
do
them.
it off.
Yeah.
And put in,
Um,
what was he, the reserve team manager they threw in there or something?
Something like, yeah, it was, wasn't it, I think. But if you look at that, you get rid of the manager, you're still going to have the same underlying problems at the club, which brings us nicely on to the second part of what we're going to talk about, which is those accounts getting published yesterday. Snuck them
This
out
is the
during the.
fun part.
Well, yeah, oh yeah, there's the good. Yeah,
I'm sure
that was the
people,
fun part.
but I'm sure people to stay on with this. It's not going to be like as bad as what you think.
Oh yeah,
Just pro-
we're not gonna go deep into it. There's just some like, I mean, I don't understand it, to be honest. I'm not an accountant. Neither's Farhad Mashiri. Clearly, he cannot be an accountant. I'm not having it. But there are some really like disturbing headline figures from what have come out. So the club sneaked out the accounts last minute. Yesterday they had to be out by April 1st. They snuck them out during the Arsenal Man City game. It's 5 o'clock last night or something. They were never getting away with that because people were waiting for it, and I think it was worse than anyone expected, wasn't it? Just some headline figures from it. £159 million on wages, which is absolutely staggering, to be honest. But especially when we've cut the wage bill, I think we've got some big earners off the books, but we're still paying 159 million. And I read before, um, the club's increased its staff numbers from 491 to 532 people working at the club. Obviously, that includes playing staff and all the youth team and everything. But I find that quite staggering. When you are in the shit financially, you put a freeze on like employing anyone else. That's the
yeah,
first thing you do before you start getting rid of people. You stop employing people because that's the fairest thing to do. People keep people in the jobs, just don't employ anyone else. How the staffing numbers have gone up is beyond me. I don't know where it is in the club, but it just seems a bit staggering that. But I think the big things are manager, coaching payoff £7 million and executive payoff £2.5 million, and that is just clearly and ultimately a symptom of how bad this club has been run. Now, a lot of people have been saying it for years. A lot of people have been calling it out for years. It only seems that now anyone in the media is taking it seriously. And people have been banging this drum for a long time that the club has been run terribly. The new stadium has always been kind of the elephant in the room. It's like, yeah, the club's been run badly, but look at that, that's coming on really
yeah,
well, and that's going really well.
yeah.
And it's always been like something that's offset how bad the club's running. But you look at those figures, and even anyone with no account knowledge like me can see that's bad, isn't it? It's horrible.
Yeah, I think there's a mixture of things there. You've just mentioned that it all goes into like a cauldron of just a complete mess all over the place. And these are look, there'll be people listening to us now as they do every week thinking, do you know what, this is Groundhog Day. We seem to be talking about this, but I think the point you've made there mainly at the front of all that is like it's not hidden behind anywhere anymore. It's not, oh, well, let's not look at how shit the finances are and we're all over the place. Let's look at that. And you can see it, it's in your line now. You can actually physically see it, the new stadium there, which
Yeah,
looks fantastic. Oh, I can't wait till we move there. Everything's going to be great because we've got loads more revenue. We're selling more tickets. We've got more hospitality. We've got more sponsors. That's great. But the other side of it means that it pales into insignificance when there's only a tiny portion of that goes against all the shit that we've still got to pay off and whatnot.
yeah.
Add that into the fact of 666 or whatever they're called now. Um, they're on the verge. We seem to hear daily they're on the verge of buying us, and these are nice lads or whatever. And one of them seems to make his face known to everyone and smiles and all that sort of crap. Those various ones, which is only a slice of what you've just mentioned there, are really alarming. You think about what you've said there. And look, we can't like we can only surmise what those numbers are in terms of who they've gone to in terms of the payments, but it's pretty obvious, isn't it? You're talking about the board there with who left Sharp, Baxendale, and who else did we have leave? Someone else left. Was it just them two?
It was it.
Oh, yeah, Grant was it? Was it him?
Oh yeah, Grant Ingles. Yeah,
I'm convinced it's the man behind Mr. Testicles.
100%. No,
Yeah,
Grant Ingles is the winking Johnny, his mate.
yeah. And that's it. Who are these people? You know what I mean? And I used to laugh at Chong, just like, where did he come from? Just some fella who rocked up, do you know what I mean? Who said, I'll do it. But those, in all seriousness, you'd have to laugh or you'd cry, wouldn't you? But what you mentioned there about those fees going away, I think if you're not of an accountant basis or an accountant background, or you know somebody in particular who can talk you through this, these things really come to pass in your mind when you see them front and centre.
Yeah.
You know, when you see accounts there, that's from 03, 04, is it? Is that right? Or is it 02, 03?
No, 22, 23, innit? Yeah,
Yeah, so
22, 23.
that's the thing that's hard to get behind because we have to do that with our business in terms of what year it is. And I'm sitting there looking, I'm thinking, right, okay, why is that adding up there when it happened 2 years ago? And I'm thinking, that's 2 years ago because it's the year before last. I don't do this year until the year after, and it's
Yeah.
so mad accounting wise, and I haven't got a clue myself personally, but it's those numbers that are alarming when you're a club that's in financial shit anyway. Being deducted Premier League points, you look at that and you think, wow, when does this end as well? How do they even turn these sorts of things around when you're paying out so much? It's being skint's one thing, being in severe debt is much worse.
Mm.
And you mentioned there about what did you say the number was in terms of player wages?
Oh,
That was
159 million on wages. So that's right across the club. That's everybody. But how on earth they're paying out that much in wages is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll probably speak to one of our friends, maybe Patrick, who'll come back on and explain this side of thing in terms of the business side of the club. Um, but you think how that relates to other clubs in the Premier League. I'm not sure where Everton rank in that, but I'm pretty certain it's above mid-table. And then when you compare that to where we are, it just shows you it's staggering how
Yeah.
appalling this has been. Not just in that aspect, but what you were talking about, the lack of revenue. We've got an owner who just seems to have got off. No idea he cares about this. You mentioned yourself there. If you're going to sack Sean Dyche, who's you going to get to do it? Is
Yeah.
it going to someone else
Well,
to just
just
pottery and you run on the pitch and you're the one who tells them? I mean,
just
that
quickly on that, it's like the big contradiction in all of this, isn't it? So we're saying, on the one hand, this manager isn't good enough. We probably need to get rid of him at some point now. But on the other hand, that's what's got us into this mess on the pitch and off it. Because if you're looking at how much we must have paid off managers in the last 8 years, like with severance pay, because you've obviously got to pay up the contract when you get rid of them. It must be a staggering amount of money when you think the managers we've paid off. Like even Sam Allardyce, who blagged an 18-month contract out of us because knowing full well he was doing 6 months work,
yeah,
things like that. And it's been this being trigger happy with managers that's got us in this position on the pitch. And also, it's really knackered the club off the pitch as well because we've paid out so much money to them. The obvious one for me, and it's easy with hindsight, and he's doing all right at Fulham now, is Marco Silva. He should have been given more time. That was the real one where you thought, at the time, it was like, could see why they did it, but looking back, it probably wasn't the right thing to do. But anyway, that's what's got us into this position. But now we're sort of saying, but we need to do it again. So the thing is, just stop getting shit people in, basically, innit?
well, yeah, but the thing is, I completely agree with what you said there about Marco Silva. I felt sorry for the guy, to be honest with you, but also at that time, I mean, undoubtedly now he'd still have the job given the financial situation we're in now. But you go back to that position where we could just we were cash free to throw all over the
Yeah,
place. You say, get rid, see you later, mate. We'll get the next one in. It's I understand you can't take the context out of that in terms of if you want to get rid of Sean Dyche, how much it would cost. We're paying another stack of money out for somebody we're going to get rid of. But now you become to a position where you are absolutely critical to change this up. And I think that is what the debate will still be for many fans. Because again, it is sort of knee jerk if you're thinking, well, we should have won at Bournemouth. But then you start looking at those statistics, that stag of games where we haven't won that 12 game thing worse than Walker, what you were saying.
yeah,
That is when it gets to a point where you're like, this needs to be done now. Only the really bad thing for us, the thing that's the proper hitching in the bollocks is the fact that we can't do it.
yeah,
I mean, I know we've had a laugh about it, but you don't know who could actually literally go and say to him and say, "Listen, mate, you're gone." Don't know who can do that, but also I'm thinking how would that be? How would that be possible unless you put someone in who's currently at the club? Have we got one of them?
give
And
it Bainesy till the end of the season. You know.
What was the old saying people use? Give it someone to the end of the season. What was that? Oh, that was it. That fella
Give
that
it Giggsy on it.
give
The
it gigs
United
at
fella.
the
Give it
season
Giggsy.
and all that. Yeah, that worked out well for him, didn't it? But you got Steve Stone, Ian won't no, because they're his best buddies. They can go on
Yeah.
the booze and deal with his P45. I mean, you've got nobody else you can do that. I was talking to a few people and they were saying, "Who would you get in? Who would you get in?" I'm like, "With 8 games to go, look at what Leeds went and did last season. Got rid of Jesse March and brought Allardyce in, and that went and fell apart, didn't it? He got rid
Yeah.
and got his payout. We're in an impossible situation here, Les. And again thinking of games you've got to win. That Fab Four games we've got coming up, and that week where we have three in a week with Liverpool smack in the middle of it, and it's Forest and Brentford either side of that. I mean that to me, um, that's that's Everton's future there in a period of 6 games.
Yeah.
Probably going a little bit too far to say that, but the thing that's keeping us there, the one thing that's keeping us there, which is really, really sad, are the other teams that are in and around us. That
I
is
know.
the only thing that I'm seeing. Anytime I see it, I look at Luton's game, Luton's results before us, and when I was watching ours on Saturday, I checked at half time and Luton were winning 1-0, and I was like, surely not. And then I looked, who scored the goal? Don't know the fella. Who was the assist? Who was the assist of all people?
Boss Rockley.
Barkley. And I keep on saying Ross Barkley is like Gollum on Lord of the Rings, where I don't know if you've seen it when Gandalf says he's got a part to play, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at Ross Barkley thinking there is something good or bad for us. There's something that fella has got to play in our remaining games if we're going to go down or if we're going to stay. Ross Barkley, we've got to go and play him as well
Second to
away.
last game, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That could be an absolute stinker of a 6 points where Ross Barkley's got a free kick
Oh
20
God,
yards
yeah.
out. That in alone in itself something to be thinking of painfully, but it is looking at like Forest. I was like, Palace, please don't concede a late goal. The one thing I didn't notice, by the way, just me, was that we've got a game in hand on the side below us.
Yeah.
I was like, where's that come
Well,
from?
the trouble is, it's Liverpool.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's the killer there. But I am starting to feel again, if you're starting to look at the tiny sort of bit of light at the end of the tunnel, is um, every week this happens. Obviously, I'm looking thinking you don't need to get to that total that I was thinking about the previous season. You don't need to get to the
Yeah.
30 odd points I was saying. I'm taking three down, and I'm taking three down, and I'm sitting there now and I'm thinking 6 points gets us out of this. Because we play all the sides below us at Goodison, and the real crisis thing we're sort of talking, we're heading towards finishing it. Les is the Everton needs to rely on what they do at Goodison. Historically, that's been the thing that saved us. That has always been things that saved us. Think of the last 2 years when we nearly went down. The Bournemouth game, the Palace game. Goodison's been Everton's saviour. Can you back that now?
No,
Absolutely not,
you
mate. I
can't
would
keep
not.
going to that well. It feels defeated in there, doesn't it? Like
It
was
is what it
was our
feels
last
like.
game West Ham
Yeah.
at home? Yeah, it was just that. It, the whole place was just flat, and
It
it's been
feels
that for a
now.
while, and I don't know how we can get ourselves worked up now because, and again, in the context of points deductions, all this financial stuff, I know it's like we should just be able to concentrate on the team on the pitch, but you can't because that's always at the back of your mind. It's always there that, we pull them through this game, we get through this season. All this shit's still going to be here next season. Are we just
Yeah.
putting it off for another season? And, for me, I see it difficult to end in any other way than this club going into administration. And that's another thing to think about this 777. It's like, why on earth would anyone be looking to buy a club before it goes into administration? It's a horrible fact of life. But if you're in business, you want to buy another business. Basically, look at what Mike Ashley does. Goes and buys businesses for a quid and
Yeah.
and then just rejuvenates them because that's what you do. You wait. It's
Yeah.
it's a horrible vulture thing to do. So
Yeah.
why are they so well? Apparently they need us more than we need them. Which Christ, That's a terrible arrangement, isn't it? But you've got to question why on earth they want to buy into a club now, or why anybody would want to buy into this club now. You wait until it goes into administration, and if the club goes into administration, that is absolutely unforgivable on everyone who's been running it these past however many years.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, not everybody's cup of tea, so no one's everybody's cup of tea. But he's seen the discussion and abuse that the S got, and he said, "Do you know what? It might be not verbatim from what he said, but Everton going into administration isn't as bad as where we're headed now. I think in obvious terms, without even considering everything that goes around it in the context of it, that's a mad thing to say. That is a
Yeah,
mad thing to say. But I think he sort of said it in terms of Everton getting the investment that they need. That clears out,
yeah.
we can get and all that. So I don't. I'm not saying
It
I get the points, but
No, it
you
depends how you look at it. If you look at it with like a sort of cold business head on, then probably yeah, because we're just going to lurch from one bad owner to the next. If the club goes into administration, someone better might come along. Let's say they're not going to be ideal because the position we're in,
know,
the
the
vultures
point
are
with that,
circling.
the asterisk that comes with that is if Everton are guaranteed to go down, that's when you consider it as, do you know what, you have to bite the bullet here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But just going back to the initial point there about Goodison being our saviour, and I can't feel that way as if to trust it. That's got nothing to do with us. That's not on us. We're still going to go there and do what we've done.
yeah,
We're going to go there and try and be, cliche thing to say, be the 12th men and all that sort of thing, and go along with the flags around Goodison, County Road, and all that. That's going to happen. Um, but the thing that's got me this season is it's tended not to have or mattered to those players that are on the pitch, or Dice with the amount of bollocks he comes out with again. Seems to be the narrative you stick with as an Everton manager is to come out with some shite at sometimes while she's still a stubborn manager. That I think that's the thing. The contract you'd have to sign is to be like
yeah,
that when you come to Liverpool. I just there's two things, isn't it? It's like if we go and do it this season, how many times every summer have we said can't happen again, can't happen
yeah,
again, can't happen again? When it does happen again, you're going to get caught at some point. Like you said, you can't keep going to the well. And I'm petrified that this is the time we have, and we've come out dry. There's
yeah,
um, there's nothing that I look at there. Given the fact that I mentioned they were playing at home, Everton have got 6 points against four sides. It, I don't see. I'd like to have more faith in different clubs in the Premier League having those games to do the favour for us than us actually having
yeah,
to do. And that's how poor I'm thinking of us as. That's how devastated I am, and that's how low I feel about what we're able to do on the pitch these days, Les. And that's a really sad place to be when you think you've always got it behind you. When we're doing this on it, anyone watches our YouTube, you see behind you, you've got Goodison there. It's a crying shame, really, when you think it's not going to be there in 18 months' time. We won't
yeah,
be there. Um, you know, it's everybody else that's inside it as well. It's a crying shame that if Everton aren't in the Premier League when it happens, but also it's upsetting that we can't do what we have in the past that's helped us, that helped Everton help Everton towards a saviour. I think that's just slowly, slowly, slowly pulling away from us where we could go there, scream our heads off, everyone leaves that pitch without able to talk because they've sung and screamed that loud. Everton could come away losing that game, and I think, do you know what? That's going to happen regardless of what we do.
yeah. It's the age-old question, isn't it? Like, whose job is it to like who up at the ground? I always think it's on the way the team starts and plays,
Yeah.
really. Because we saw it against United, didn't we? Just when the first sort of uh points deduction thing came in, we had that game against United. Everyone was up for it. Everyone was dead loud at the start. 30 seconds in, we concede, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, there we go. So it's on the team for me, and this manager and this bunch of players. There's just nothing there to inspire anything from
When he,
anybody, from anyone.
when he came in, I was thinking that, like, how long's he been there now? It's about just over 14, 15 months, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
That Arsenal game, his first one. I think if you were to put what Sean Dyche is like as a manager into a bottle, that was him. Um, I've said up to a certain point, to my this value and criticism towards me. I've said that the only type of manager that keeps Everton up is Sean Dyche. I'd still stick with that, which will sound insanity, but I mean that in terms of what he's done. But he doesn't even seem like he's able to do it.
Yeah,
He's let he's let down the Sean Dyche of the Sean Dyche we thought we were getting. If you see what I mean,
yeah,
you've got a fella there you want to make Everton strong, look like shite, but still get points. He can't even do that.
yeah,
That's why he shouldn't be our manager. But we can't. You can't get rid of him with 8 games to go. I mean, another question I'd love to put onto our listeners there: would you get rid of him right now if it meant getting another manager in? That's a really horrible question to answer there, because I was referring to Leeds. Leeds went through 3 managers that season, didn't he?
yeah. And
He came in for Gravy. Who was he came in for? Spanish lad.
oh yeah, I forgot what he's called. Yeah, but there was three.
Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. They had those two, and then brought in Allardyce for the last 4 or 5 games. Um, and look, it failed. But am I insane to be looking at it thinking, is that not Allardyce, by the way? Is that the thing you go and do? You know what? You get someone in there for the last 5 home games and think this fella can help us out.
But then
You put
again,
what you thinking what Dice is at. I'm like, is that insane? Am I thinking like my head's
we've
all
got
over the place with it? You know what I mean? And I think a
yeah,
lot of fans sitting here listening to this thinking, oh, do you know what? That might not be a bad idea, but he's chatting shit over there. Oh, I'm not sure. And you'd end up thinking about 100 different answers to one
I think
question.
yeah, I think this is what's going through everyone's head. It's not the like simple cases it has been in previous years where it's like, well, who are you going to get? And it's like, well, that's up to the board and that, because we don't seem to have anyone running the club. And also at this point, when everyone knows how much of a basket case the club is, you've got to question the motives of anyone who comes in. They're going to
That's
be coming in for the money, and it's we need more than that. We need someone who's going to come up with some ideas. Ultimately, it's up to Sean Dyche. He can change things. He's still got time to change things. As you said, unbelievably, we're still not in the relegation zone. We could be after another point of deduction. We could be after another couple of games. But at the minute, we're not. But what he's doing isn't working. He's still got time to change it. It's on him still, amazingly. But
I know we've got Matt who's doing the preview of the Newcastle game with Greenidge, who's up. He's brilliant, nice lad. We speak to all the time when we play against Newcastle. Christian Heenage, and that'll be a really good listen to see what's going on over there compared to what they think we're doing, and they seem to despise us as well. But he's a nice guy that doesn't. You know what I mean? But going over to them, mate. I mean that's I think you're a really positive person, more so than I could ever be in my life. If you think we're going to go there and get a result,
and
and
also
that, without Anthony, was Anthony Gordon
he's
is suspended?
suspended. Yeah.
Well, that's something at least, isn't it?
But I mean, the bad thing is we've already beaten them once this season, so we're not going to do the double over them, are we?
No, no. I did that as a question. Just I know we're going to finish now. Question: when's the last time we've done a double against the Premier League team? I can't think. I haven't got the
I
answer yet, by the way, but I think that's
oh,
on.
do you know what? I think it might have been Palace, possibly the season.
So the answer.
It's always Palace is always the one. Yeah, I
We
think it
used to
may have been
talk about
Palace.
Crystal Palace on like all the time. Crystal Palace and Everton are just like that. They're linked
Oh,
together.
yeah, they're the same thing basically.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll leave it there. We probably inflicted enough
You
misery
just,
on
you just,
everyone.
I know you're having a glass of wine, mate. You've just been through about 5 bottles doing
I
that
have
there.
basically, yeah. I'm just keeping myself topped up.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been nice to give like people something more cheery to listen to, but that's the fact with this club at the minute, isn't it? There's really nothing to shout about.
Listen at the weekend. Come on.
Go ahead, yeah. Burnley, the Dice Derby. Christ, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, but we'll be back all week with the usual stuff. The weekly, subs weekly. Matt will have a couple of previews for Newcastle and Burnley. Mailbag will be back for the usual nonsense. Yeah, so just thanks to everyone for listening, supporting us, listening on the podcast, watching on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Nice one. Hopefully you've all had a nice bank holiday weekend, and hopefully work isn't too bad tomorrow for everyone. Yeah, but keep listening. We'll stay in touch all week. Up the toffees.